get in, get all in, and put the blinders on and actually make friends with money and engage in the kind of free enterprise that will allow you to earn what you finally deserve. Guys, I love this company. Time would fail me to sit and tell you how this company and this opportunity has changed my family's life, has changed the lives of every person that I've shared it with. Congratulations. In my opinion, you are the most important person on the call tonight. Brand new people who've just pulled the trigger and just gotten started. My goodness, what an exciting place for you to be in. I am thrilled. I'm almost envious because you are getting started, but what a great place to be. You've got absolutely everything at your fingertips that you need to actually go out and create whatever results you want, whether you're marketing. You've kind of shown up here tonight to find out what's the scoop of this thing, what's up with these guys and gals. So we're glad you guys are here. I would invite you, get started. You can get back in touch with the person who invited you to the call. If you got an email or a Facebook message or something like that, you probably see a link somewhere. You can push the button and get started with the person who invited you here. So hang on one second. I'm going to grab a bottle of water real quick. Let me kind of lay it out this way. There's a lot of people, and by the way, let me say two things real quickly. First of all, we are going to talk about money tonight, and one of the things that means is we've got a lot of people either as affiliates. Our standard income disclosure is pretty much that, hey, you're a big boy, you're a big girl. We're all adults on the line here. We all know that any business requires actual effort. Okay, this is not a soup kitchen. It's not a campfire sing-along. This is a real business, right? So if you choose to get started in the affiliate program here, you can make more money than some of these people. You may make less. You might sit on the couch and eat Doritos and make no money at all. Some people also get started just to enjoy our products. So even though we are going to be talking about various levels of income tonight on this call, none of that should be construed as a guarantee of income. If you're looking for a guarantee, I don't even know if there's a guaranteed income anymore. I used to say, hey, if you want a guaranteed income, go get a job, but that's certainly not a reliable way to guarantee income either anymore, is it? So the only guarantee that exists is the guarantee that you bring to the table yourself. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let me also say, too, this is my personal disclaimer, but my name is Tony Rush, and this is also my perspective after having been here for about 18 months. And I actually came here because I was in another home business, and I wanted to learn how to generate more leads and do a better job of turning those leads into sales. And so my plan was, hey, I'm going to come here and learn what these are doing, and I'm going to, sneaky take this information over to my other business and really knock the cover off the ball. And as it happened, about 5 weeks after I got started, I noticed that I had a couple $100 a day coming in affiliate commissions. Now bear in mind, I didn't come here for the business opportunity. And this is not the topic of the call tonight, but just by way of introduction, I want you to know who I am and how I got here and why I am qualified to talk on the topic that we're going to talk about. I'm a normal person, right? I don't wear a cape and tights. I'm not a superhero. I am just like anybody else. My experience here has been absolutely phenomenal because when I realized how simple it was to make, for me, a couple $100 a day in affiliate commissions by following a really simple system about 45 minutes or an hour a day, what really hit my brain was, you know what, if I were to start treating this like a real business, this thing could really turn into a six-figure income for me. And about 4 months into the business, I was averaging about $500 a day. And I was still working maybe about an hour a day, maybe a little more on some days, but certainly less than 2 hours a day. The amount of time I was working, I think, is less important than pointing out that I wasn't doing any of the hassles that are normally associated with a home business. In other words, I wasn't, chasing friends and family and making a list of everybody I've known since, kindergarten. You guys have done that, right? If you guys have done that, I can probably feel you nodding along and chuckling a little bit. You're making that list of everybody you've known since daycare, like, what's that kid's name that was in the crib next to me in the hospital? I need to call him up and see if he wants to make money from home, right? All of the shenanigans that we used to do to make money from home, the home parties, driving across town, sitting at somebody's kitchen table doing a 1-hour presentation, going to coffee shops and drawing circles on the back of napkins, and good Lord, all the stuff that I used to do to struggle to make money from home, and suddenly I find myself using this really simple system, and I got about $500 a day coming in. Single mom in Ohio, living with mom and dad after a divorce, right? Got 2 kids living in mom and dad's house with her, trying to figure out how she's going to pay the bills, and comes here, starts following the system, and suddenly starts creating a nice, cool little $100 bill every day. Wakes up every morning to the idea of a $100 bill in the bank account that wasn't there when she went to sleep. Man, that's a story. That is a life-changing story, is it not? Or the story of somebody who was so burned out on this industry that they nearly threw in the towel, and they ran across that website, almost a secret or whatever, right? Or my buddy Sam Crowley from up in Ohio, personal development speaker, speaks for a lot of network marketing companies, never gets involved in one himself, and he sees this and says, you know what? I think there's something here. I think there's something here I can get my teeth into that actually will serve people, and it's not just going to be a money grab. And he comes here, and not only has he made multiple 6 figures, but he's got a group of people that are also doing the same thing. Or Kevin Connect, who I think just passed the $250,000 mark after being here for something like 13 months. Kevin and Melissa, just absolutely knocking the cover off the ball. I was talking to Christian Heineke last week. Heineke. Sorry, Christian. I butcher his name every time I talk about him. And just on a whim, I was like, dude, how much money have you made here? I think he really got started like last October or November. How much money have you made since you've been here? And he's like $125,000, $140,000 or something. It was between $100,000 and $150,000. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, really? I mean, he's like one of those under-the-radar people that you hear his name. And then all of a sudden you find out that there's a lot of people that you don't hear about on these calls, names that maybe they don't lodge in your memory, people just quietly going about their business, making 6 figures in 5 months. It's an amazing and beautiful thing to watch, okay? Now, I'm going to offer you something tonight, though, that's a little bit off the beaten path for what we normally talk about. It's just my perspective of a topic that we do talk about quite a bit, but I did a mastermind last night for some of the members of my team, people that were members of the 15K formula and up, and we spent about 2.5 hours together talking about a few of the things that I see in my own business because it's a common thing, right? When you're making $4,000 a day or something, and by the way, I'm not even the top earner here. There's people that make $8,000 and $10,000 a day. But anytime somebody's getting great results doing anything, the obvious question is to simply say, hey, if you had to narrow it down to a handful of things, what would you say you're doing differently than the masses? Right? And I think, by the way, this will be good content no matter whether you're in Empower Network or not. What I'm going to tell you is my perspective on what I consider to be fairly universal, foundational truths. So this will be something you can stick in your pocket and go use tomorrow. I think the first thing, when somebody asks that question, I think the first thing that has to be mentioned is it's a concept that gets talked about a lot, but I think a lot of people pay it lip service. And they're certainly not talking about it out in major society today. They're down at Denny's, they're sitting at the bar eating scrambled eggs. They're not talking about this. But every top performer I know of talks about this. When I sit around with David Sharp and David Wood or Aaron Rashkin or Lawrence Tam or Vic Struzhouse, this is what comes to the surface. Number one, personal responsibility and self-reliance. Write that down. We're going to take some notes tonight. I want you to leave here with some stuff that, in my opinion, is worth a minimum of at least a couple $1 million to you in personal income if you take this stuff and apply it. Okay, and I'm not exaggerating. It's certainly put at least that in my pocket. Personal responsibility and self-reliance. Now, personal responsibility, let me say something kind of sensational, probably that initial, and I'm going to tell you up front, I don't want you to hang up, because what I'm going to say here is probably going to tick you off for about 30 seconds. And I'm probably not saying what you think I'm saying, okay? So I want you to hang with me, because if what I'm about to say ticks you off a little bit, I want you to hang out long enough for me to explain what I mean, okay? So it would be this. I would say if I was at a job where I was being sexually harassed, or if I was talking to someone and they said, I'm on a job and my boss sexually harasses me, I would say, you know what, you need to take responsibility for that. Now, I told you that's going to be a little controversial. And again, this is Tony Rush's perspective, okay? I think you'll find after I clarify what I'm talking about, I think you'll understand this is a core success thing. If somebody's in an abusive relationship, I would say to the person getting abused, you know what, you need to take responsibility for that. If you're in a business where other people are making lots of money and you're not making money, guess what? You need to take responsibility for that. Now, I sound like I'm being a jerk, don't I? But here's what I mean. Let's look at the word. What does it mean, responsibility? See, a lot of people think it means blame. And whose fault is it? Because that's how society thinks, isn't it? Like the first thing everybody wants to know, something bad happens on the news, and the first thing they want to do is, whose fault is it? Well, who's to blame? Let's forget fault and blame for just a few minutes tonight. Because, it's always real easy to point a finger out there at what's going wrong. And the old cliche is true. Every time we point a finger out there, there's three pointing back at us. Okay? But let's look at what the difference between fault and blame, which is a negative and very victimhood type concept. Let's compare that to responsibility. What is responsibility? Well, for one thing, it's one of those words that most people don't care for very much, kind of like the word discipline. People don't like that word. It's not sexy. It's not light and frothy. But look at what the word responsibility means. It means you have the ability to respond. That's all it means. You've got the ability to make a response. That's why I say if somebody was in an abusive relationship where they're getting abused physically or emotionally, no, it's not their fault. No, they're not to blame for that situation. But they have to take a responsibility. They have to say to themselves, if I'm going to change my life, if I'm going to get a different situation, I've got to be willing to take ownership of this situation and reserve for myself the ability to respond, whether that means going and getting help, going to the police, going to whatever, right, going to a therapist or counseling or whatever is required. But this person has the ability to respond. Okay? Somebody's like, well, I'm overweight. Okay, fine. And somebody says, well, I've got big bones. Okay, well, we'll give you 10 pounds for big bones, but if you need to lose 80 or 100 pounds, you have to take responsibility. Let's forget blame. Some people want to go blaming McDonald's for people being obese, right? And somebody wants to blame Wall Street and the Federal Reserve for somebody being broke, or somebody wants to blame Coca-Cola for children being obese. I get all that, but that's all on the wrong side of the table. That's all fault and blame. Once again, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about the attributes that create excellence in personal production. Step one, personal responsibility. Okay, fine. Maybe Coca-Cola has got some products that aren't in my best interest. Maybe McDonald's is churning out cheap food that does cause people to be overweight. But what's my stake in it? Where am I going to take my personal responsibility? Nobody's put a gun to my head and forced me to consume these products, right? So I have to take ownership of the situation and reserve for myself the what? The ability to respond. Let me tell you a quick story. This was so critical for me because, see, I used to be one of those wuss bags who my life wasn't working, but it was everybody else's fault. You guys ever known anybody like that? How many of you will be honest and say maybe you've been that way before? Okay? If I could imagine looking around an audience right now, I think a few honest people would slip their hand up and say, you know what? Tony, I have been the wuss bag too. I have been a wussy. I have been the guy who was whining and complaining about life. And see, that was me. It's like I had this whole list of reasons why my life wasn't working. You know, it was my boss at Walden Books. That's where I used to work, bookstore. I worked at a newspaper for a little while. My negative boss who wouldn't give me a raise. Or it's the Republicans' fault, or the Democrats' fault. You know, or it's the gas prices. A lot of people are hung up on it's the Federal Reserve's fault, which, again, that's all about fault and blame. But here I am, a grown adult at 31 years old, living in a tiny little concrete block house way out in the country, could barely pay my $300 a month rent, would literally come home and find that deputy sheriffs have been, like, tacking legal notices to my door for bills that I hadn't paid. Always wondering, you know, checking the caller ID before I would answer the phone, scared it was a bill collector. That was how my life was going. I was married with kids. It's humiliating to be in that situation. But here's why I was there. You, and the same reason you are where you are. You are where you are in your life right now because of your best thinking. I learned that from John Lavinia, a friend of mine. Fantastic speaker, published author. But he told me, he said, Tony, your life looks the way it does right now because that is what your best thinking has produced. Man, I wish I'd have gotten that advice years ago. I wish I could have come to a call like this one when I was about 18. If you're under the age of 25 right now, I would have fought tooth and nail to have gotten to some of this information when I was younger. But hey, if you're 40, 50, or 60 and you're hearing it for the first time, oh, how great to get some of this now. Better today than tomorrow, right? Get it quick, get it early, and apply it. Personal responsibility, taking ownership of your life. And so here I was in this awful situation, and I had this long list of reasons why my life wasn't working, and yet I had not put myself on the list. It was always somebody else's fault. And I remember very clearly the day that it all shifted. The day that it all shifted, I was driving home from Asheboro, North Carolina. I was on Highway 42 going out to Ramseur, North Carolina, and I went by a new neighborhood. They'd been building it for I've been by it 100 times, but, you know, who knows why you really notice things. But the day I drove by, it looked like a freaking Hallmark card commercial is what it looked like. I'm driving by the neighborhood, and it was like every single house looked like a postcard. And all these newer cars, and Dad getting out of the car, coming home from work. And, you know, you can just picture the little girl running out the front door in slow motion, running out to meet Dad. And there's a nice little picket fence and 2 poplar trees in the front yard and a yellow canary in the bird cage in the front living room window. You know what I'm saying? You can picture it, right? Now, that's not real, but that's what it looked like to me, because I'm living 18 miles out in the country in this crappy little house that I still can't afford and trying to figure out how to pay the bills. And I drive by this neighborhood, and it just looked suddenly, who knows why, but that day it just looked like everybody in the world was doing better than me. And it hit me that they were all operating in the same economy that I was operating in. They were paying the same prices for gas as I was. The same person was in the White House for them as was for me. You know, same people in Congress, same people at the city, same gas price, same everything. So why is it that these people are having a much better quality of life and I'm grinding? That's always a good question to ask, even if you're not starving to death, even if you're not having trouble paying the bills. Look at how you spend your time, right? Why am I grinding while other people seem to do it so much easier? Have you ever asked that? Have you ever wondered that for yourself? Like, why is it that somebody else in this home business industry seems like they can just twitch their little finger and a bunch of money comes flying in the door, and I am pouring forth 2 and 3 hours of labor part-time every night after I get home from work, you know, calling leads, putting people on conference calls, doing all the stuff, and it's a grind. And part of that, there really is an answer to that question. And part of the answer is the reason that we created the products that we have here at Empower Network, so that we can show people how to work an easier way. But it's always a good question to say, why am I grinding when somebody else is doing it easier? What can I learn from them? And on this particular day, at 31 years old, I went home and I said, you know what? I told my wife, I said, we're moving. And she said, what? I said, we're moving. We're packing. I'm going to go to the grocery store and get some boxes, and I'm going to start packing. And she said, Tony, we don't have any money to move. We don't have anywhere to go. We're behind on our bills. And I said, honey, I know that. I know that. And as a provider in the house, or not provider, as the case was, I felt horrible. I felt horrible feeling like I was the dad and the husband who constantly said, no, we can't do that, we can't afford it. And I was well aware that I wasn't doing for my family what I needed to do. But that day, Jessica said, well, how are we going to move? And I said, I don't know. All I know is that I'm not going to die living in this house. I don't know if we're moving in a month or moving in a year or 10 years, but I'm not going to go another day going through the motions of mediocrity. Write that down. Going through the motions of mediocrity. I'm not going to do it. And here's another phrase for you. I said, I'm going to do whatever I can from where I am with what I've got. Whatever I can from where I am with what I've got. And I don't have any money, but I know I can go get some boxes and start boxing up some stuff, because we are going to move at some point, and I'm starting today from where I am with what I've got. And I am blessed to have a wife that's much smarter than me. And we went to the grocery store. We started packing. We packed it, guys. We packed everything in that house that we did not need for day-to-day living. We literally, at one point, we had the whole living room was nothing but stacks of boxes. You couldn't even really go in there. And we were boxing up baby clothes. And we were boxing up every book that we had that didn't have something to do with success and personal development went in the box. And we literally lived in the kitchen and around the computer area there. I had like a $400 e-machine, if you guys remember those, a $400 e-machine I got at Office Depot, and in our bedrooms. So kitchen, computer area, and 2 bedrooms. And every day when I'd get off work, I would start packing. Now here's the thing. Something really weird happened, because I was in a home business at the time. Wasn't making any money, none. I was grinding, but I wasn't getting any results at all. Strangest thing happened. When I started taking action from where I was with what I had, weirdest thing happened. You ready? I started making money. Just started making money. I mean, for where I was at the time, good money. I mean, like $800 and $1,200 a week. Suddenly, and here's what was weird. I didn't change my bank. I didn't change my my marketing. I didn't change my ads. I didn't change what I was saying to people in the business. Same company, same product, same pay plan, same customer support, same upline, same team, same everything. But when I decided that I was going to take ownership of my life, instead of riding around in the passenger seat of my own life, when I decided to get over in the driver's seat and start making some moves, that's where everything shifted. And suddenly, this business that I was in, it wasn't that great of a business, but you could make a little bit of money. And there were people in that company making money, but not me. And then suddenly, because of this decision to become self-reliant, to take personal responsibility for where I was, suddenly, it's like that quote from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, the money will come so quickly that you will wonder where it's been hiding during all the lean years. And that happened for me. I've seen it happen for thousands of people since, after they get this concept of self-reliance, personal responsibility. The life you want also wants you. Write that down. The life you want wants you. But the only way to get it is to stop pretending, and I'm using that word deliberately, stop pretending that your results in life have anything to do with external factors. It don't. Don't have a thing in the world to do with the economy. People say, well, you can't make any money in this economy, and yet we do. And yet we have thousands of people making lots and lots of money here in the same economy, where many people are grumbling and complaining that you can't make any money. Or somebody sees a commercial. I was somewhere the other day, and I saw it was a Mercedes commercial came on. It was advertising, I don't know what it was. It was probably, it wasn't even, it was like a $75,000 car, I guess, or something. And somebody says, ain't nobody can afford to buy that. But I just bought one. I did, and paid cash for it. Went down to the Mercedes dealership and got a GL 450 and wrote a check. And now, please understand, if you know me, and many of you do, many of you don't, I'm the least arrogant person that you'll ever meet. I don't have a arrogant bone in my body. I am very grateful for the success that I've got here, but I also know that that's the result of my work and my decisions. But I'm not a boastful, arrogant person, so please don't, just when I say that I went to the Mercedes place and bought a brand new Mercedes and paid cash for it, don't take that to mean that I'm bragging. I'm making a larger point. The larger point that I'm making is that Mercedes sells cars every single day. Okay? Every single day. And here's the other thing. Mercedes don't care who they sell them to. They'll sell them to anybody that walks on the lot and says they want to buy one. And this brings me to the second part of my call tonight. Because after personal responsibility, I'd like to kind of, let's segue over here into this other topic, because I think there's a conversation that we have to have. There's a lot of people that want to make a lot of money. Okay? You want to get rich is what you want. And you won't say that because that's not good to say that, supposedly. You're not supposed to say things like, hey, I want to get rich. But let me invite you to, I want you to sit back for just a second. I want you to imagine something with me, okay? I want you to think about this, because this is key. This is important. If you get this, you are that close, inches away from an avalanche of prosperity in your life that you don't even realize how close you are, okay? But I want you to get this, because there's a lot of people. This ties into personal responsibility, but I'm moving to a new topic here, and it's you need to make friends with money. Some of you on the line have been keeping money at arm's length for way too long, and you want to know why you don't have much of it in your life? It's because without realizing it, you are, in some ways, you're actually repelling it from you. Now, I'll give you an example. People who like cars, like people that really, really like cars, they have cars. I was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago and talked to a guy who he loves art. That's what he loves. Well, guess what's in his house? He's got lots of art. I'm backing a project on Kickstarter.com. There's some guys that are putting together a documentary about a hobby of mine. And here's the thing. Everybody that's in that documentary has a huge love for this particular hobby. Well, guess what? Guess what they do? They actually have a lot of the thing that they're interested in. Okay, so here's my point. People that like things, and if I like cars or I like vintage fountain pens or whatever, you pick anything. If you like dogs, you probably got lots of dogs. You like cats, you got lots of cats. So how is it that you say you like money, but you don't have a lot of money? And I'm obviously talking to only a portion of tonight's audience, because there's a lot of you on the line that are making a ton of money here, and it's clear that you have your likes. You've got the valve is open in your life. You have money flowing into your life because you have figured out some of the stuff that I'm about to talk about. But those of you on the line who are finding it difficult to make money and to have lots of money flowing in your life, why is it that you don't have a lot of money? Have you ever asked yourself, why am I not rich already? And I would submit to you tonight a couple of things. Number one, you're probably not wealthy yet because you never decided to be. That's the first thing. Nobody accidentally trips and falls and slips into a big pile of money. It very rarely does that happen. Now, somebody may have an accidental idea or something, but they still had to cultivate that idea and work their ass off to turn it into a major enterprise. But most people are not wealthy, first of all, because they've never actually decided to be wealthy. And the second reason, and this is what I want to spend, I think, the balance of my time talking about, is they don't actually like money very much. They're scared of it. They're scared of it, and they are negative about it, and they repel it from them. Now you say, now Tony, come on. Nobody, people need money, and they want money. They work hard to get money. Why would you say they're repelling money out of their life? That's a fair question, and I'm glad you asked. Okay, let me give you. I was doing this is back before I learned how to work online. Actually, probably about the time the internet really got hot, but certainly 1990s, or something like that. Internet marketing really didn't happen until early 2001. It was really starting to blossom into a profession of its own. But around 1996, we were all on AOL and paying per minute charges, and there wasn't really any organized internet marketing. So back then, we were doing hotel meetings. I was in my first real MLM, and I was traveling around doing meetings in hotels and restaurants. I was in Lenore, North Carolina on a Tuesday night doing a meeting for a nutritional MLM company. And there was maybe about 60 people in the audience. And I had just started reading Think and Grow Rich and some of the other books about how your beliefs and your thoughts actually create your decisions and actions. And I deliberately asked the audience, how many people came here tonight to learn how to get rich? And maybe only 2 people raised their hand. And I thought, that's interesting. And I talked on for a little while longer. And then about 15 minutes into my presentation, I said, now let's be honest, how many people came here tonight because you want to be financially independent? And every hand in the room went up. Now, it's the same thing, but isn't it interesting that 99% of the audience refuses to raise their hand when we say rich? But they'll all raise their hand as long as we're talking about financial independence. Now, what is that? Now, that's interesting, isn't it? When I see things like that happen, my brain just I have to stop and look at that and say, now, what's going on there? Why is that? What is going on that there's a different, just the changing one word that means the same thing. Rich and wealthy mean the same thing. Rich and financially independent mean the same thing. Why would 99% of the people not respond? And this is what led me to start studying how people think about money. Now, I want you to sit back and relax for just a moment. I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples here to illustrate how stupid and ridiculous we can be about ideas. So I want you to picture that somebody's kind of making an announcement. Maybe it's after dinner in a restaurant, and they push back from the table, and they say, guys, I want to share something with you. I have made the decision that I want to be as physically healthy as I can possibly be. You know what, I've really become aware lately of all the importance of really having good quality food and working out and drinking enough water and getting good sleep. And, I can just do a better job, and I want to really focus on being as physically healthy as I can be. And what is the response? Everybody's like, oh, it's fantastic. We salute you. That's great. And now picture somebody else says, you know what? Since she has just spoken, I want to share a decision that I've made. And my goal is I really want to focus on my emotional health. I want to be as emotionally healthy as I can be. I just realize there's people in my life I need to forgive. There's grudges. I've got grudges against people that I've been holding on to for years. And it's created a lot of internal stress. And I just recently realized that I really need to let go of all this baggage and really start loving people and really focusing on creating quality relationships. Oh, what a wonderful thing. Such a great decision. And the third person says, since we're kind of all sharing our hearts tonight, I've just been aware of how much TV I watch. Some of the crap that I put in my head, I read the newspaper and I listen to talk radio, and, I've recently become aware that I'm really not putting into my mind what I need to really live a life of excellence. And I want to start reading at least 4 books a month. And I want to start getting some good quality audio books. And I want to start really spending my time around intellectual people who are talking about something other than what the Kardashians are doing this week, and who's in rehab and who's out of rehab, and who's having a baby. And let's talk about some of the important things that really can make life on our planet better for our children. I really want to focus on being as intellectually healthy as I can possibly be. Oh, what a fantastic decision. Now, everybody's with me. We can keep going. Spiritual health, right? Marriage. We can. I really want to focus on and everything gets applause. So, what does it mean when everybody freaks out because somebody pulls out a dollar bill? Can't you picture it? Imagine in your mind, if you will. Hey guys, I tell you what, everybody's been making decisions. Let me share with you a decision I just made. Me and my husband were just talking about this. And we've decided we want to be as financially healthy as possible. We want to really focus on making as much money as we can and really get completely out of debt and just have so much money coming in every single day. We'd really like to make as much money in a day as the average person makes in a month. And that'll let us pretty much do anything we want, and we can buy nice clothes and travel the world and stay in great hotels and fly first class and enjoy all the luxuries of the world and really just sort of live life to the fullest. Where's the applause for that? Isn't it interesting? You can almost hear the crickets in the background, can you not? Now, let us stop and think about this. I want to go ahead and dispel the myth right now. Let's do away once and for all the idea that money is not important. Money is just as important as the food that it buys, the medicine it buys, the clothes that it buys. Money is just as important. And here's the thing. I would submit to you tonight that one of the reasons that you may not have as much money as you want in your life is because you're pushing it with one hand and pulling it with another. So you go out and you do all the income-producing activities in the world, punching a clock, working for a salary, calling leads, doing presentations, selling something. You're working in the external world to create wealth. You obviously need it. You want it. You're on the call tonight. This is the topic. We're here to talk about money. So you're obviously interested in money, and yet we've got these mind viruses. We've got these not physical viruses like make us physically sick, but mind viruses. Like if I say to you, hey, well, money doesn't grow on, you already know how to fill in the blank. Money doesn't grow on trees. If I say to you, well, we might not have a lot of money, but at least we're blank, fill in the blank with whatever you've heard. Because you know you've heard somebody say something like that. We don't have a lot of money, but at least we're honest. Or we don't have a lot of money, but at least we love God. Or we don't have a lot of money, but at least I love my family. As if you can't have money and be spiritual. Or as if you can't have money and be a great church member or a great Christian or a great whatever, right? As if you can't have money and simultaneously love your children. We hear these mind viruses over and over, and they get ingrained in your subconscious. So please tell me what would happen if a man or a woman has in their mind the belief, if I make a lot of money, well, that's just going to open the door for the devil to come in and tear up my life. Or as a non-religious example, if I were to make a lot of money, a lot of wealthy people don't have time for their children. If you picture a man or a woman who has that kind of belief in their head, and yet over here on the other side, they're working night and day to try to get more money to come in, can you not see your belief system will not allow you to get that money? The internal workings of your mind will not allow you to get too much money because your mind is programmed for your survival, and that includes emotional survival. Well, our brains are evolved to let us know to flee from danger. Our minds have evolved to do whatever it takes for survival. So if being broke is who you are, like as in an identity, because you get emotional payoff in your life, You can say, well, I don't have a lot of money, but at least I'm spiritual. Or I don't have a lot of money, but I love my family. Well, you've programmed yourself to think that the only way you can love your family or have a great spiritual life is if you're struggling to make ends meet. You will repel money from you faster than you can possibly imagine. I did it. I did it for years. This is how people destroy their lives. Every leader I know will tell you this is how it works. Every millionaire I know, every multimillionaire I know will tell you if you don't clean up the head stuff, it doesn't matter what you're doing externally, you can't get the money. So the invitation I have for you tonight is to start getting engaged in the kind of personal development that this is what we teach. We teach you to make friends with money. It's part of what we do here. Some of you, this is a breath of fresh air. Some of you tonight, you already know you're not hearing this anywhere else. You didn't hear this in class at school. You're not hearing it perhaps behind the pulpit. You're certainly not hearing it on CNN and Fox. And they're still not talking about it down at the Denny's, okay? We've got to get that cleared up, and that's a part of what we're teaching here. Now, let me share this with you, too, because I don't want you to make assumptions about this. This is not the kind of community where we're going to tell you. I had a guy. Let me tell you a stupid story one time. I had a company owner who actually called me one time. This is dumb. This is not what we're doing here, okay? I don't want you to mistake what I've just said for the story I'm about to tell you. The story I'm about to tell you is stupid, but this is what a lot of people think that prosperity consciousness is, okay? And it's not. I had a company owner one time. I was in a company I was making maybe about $6,000 or $8,000 a month, so I was feeling pretty good. I had a company owner call me one time. He said, "Hey, Tony, you want to triple your income in the next 90 days?" I said, "Good Lord, yes." He said, "I can tell you how to do it." I said, "Well, you got to tell me." He said, "What kind of car do you drive?" I said, "What?" I drive a Ford Explorer. He said, "You need to go get you a BMW this week." I said, "Pardon?" He said, "If you want to triple your income in the next 90 days, you need to go get you a nicer car. You need to go get you about a $100,000 car. Go get you a $100,000 car and your income will jump through the roof." And I thought, that's got to be the stupidest piece of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Now, I'm being honest with you. And some of you are like, I can't believe he said that on a conference call. Well, we do a lot of things different around here. And I'm just speaking authentically to you tonight. That was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. The idea that somebody's going to just magically have money flow in their bank account because somebody went into debt, to me, that was foolish. And I drove that Ford Explorer for 2 or 3 more years before I traded up for a Toyota Sienna. And then after I drove the Toyota Sienna for a while, I finally got around to start getting a little bit of a nicer car. But so that's not what I'm talking. I'm not talking about, that kind of prosperity teaching. But here's what I do want to invite you to think about. Some of you guys have actually repelled money from you because you don't think you deserve it. Now, I'll share this with you from my heart. I loved my daddy. I miss him every day, and I wish he was around today to meet his grandkids, and I wish he was around to see that I did finally turn out to be something. He was probably very worried about me before he passed away because I was bouncing from job to job, and I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living, and he was constantly aware that I was scraping by. But here's the thing. For everything that my dad did well, he never figured this money thing out. He was a grown adult in his 50s still trying to figure out how to pay the light bill. A lot of people say, well, my dad worked hard all his life, and that's just another way of saying Dad never figured out how money works. Now, I wasn't going to have this conversation because we're already at the top of the hour, and I like to keep these calls kind of on purpose, but I think this will be worth a few extra minutes. And we'll call this a third thing that you can do to really get this money thing solved. You've got to disconnect your perspective of money. You've got to get rid of this connection you have in your head between money and time. And there's a deservability thing that is mixed in with this. I said a moment ago, some of you have repelled money from you because you don't feel like you deserve it. I did that for a long time because my dad never made any serious money at all in his life. And yet here I am in a home business where suddenly I make, say, $1,000 before lunchtime. Well, what does that mean? My dad probably never made $1,000 in a week. As far as I know, he never made $1,000. He never averaged $1,000 a week income. My dad was a hog farmer for most of his life, so there were like twice a year he might make more than $1,000 a week. But averaged out, I doubt my dad probably ever made more than $20,000 or $30,000 from the 70s and 80s, and perhaps he might have made $20,000 or $25,000 in the 90s. So what does it mean that I can just make $1,000 and I don't have to go dig a ditch, and I don't have to get calluses on my hands, I don't have to slave away out in the hot sun, I don't have to be a maintenance guy at a hotel crawled up behind a clothes dryer in the laundry room in 100-degree weather trying to figure out how to fix a dryer. There's people who work really hard. I'm aware of it. I used to work hard. None of my colleagues, by the way, probably know this because it's funny. There's a lot of us that hang out in Power Network. A lot of us are going to be meeting up together in Miami here in the next week or so. And, you know, we're always a little surprised when we hear about each other's past because all we know of each other is, well, there's Aaron Rashkin. He's just a badass. There's a guy who twitches his little finger and another $1,000 comes flying in the door, right? You know, or you got, you know, Justin Varenja, you know, he'll go over and sit out on his deck and cross his legs and meditate for, you know, a couple of hours or, you know, 8 hours or whatever and, you know, levitate a little bit, you know, and then come back in the house and check his laptop. It's like, oh, yeah, well, that's a nice little $4,000 morning. You know, so it's always a little surprising when we hear each other's pasts that, you know, Aaron didn't come from money or maybe Justin didn't. You know, so my thing is I've done hard work. And you wouldn't know it today because I pay somebody to mow my yard and I pay somebody to detail my cars. And, again, I'm not saying that to be arrogant, but there's no point in me doing those things. I can pay someone else to do it and be a blessing to them in their life. And I can focus on things that I want to do, spending time with my family instead of mowing my yard, which will take me forever to mow my yard because I'm lousy at it. I don't like it, and I don't do a good job at it. So it's easier for me to just give Mike Waters $80 because he does a better job, and he loves mowing yards, right? So, but like in my past, I used to mow yards for a living. Not even yards. I mowed a cemetery. I worked for the city of Asheboro in North Carolina. So in the summertime, I'm out there mowing a huge cemetery, you know, and in the wintertime, I'm the guy, you know, doing the leaf sucking machine where you suck up all the wet leaves out of the ditches and you're going around 35-degree weather, slightly drizzling, had a cold all the time, and I'm doing that stuff for $7 an hour. So from a deservability standpoint, you've got to make some shifts in your thinking. You've got to be okay with the fact that following a little system and working online and making a couple $1,000s in a day, it's okay. It's okay. We give you permission. If you needed anybody to tell you, you have permission to go get rich. Nobody minds. Nobody minds. My dad is passed on. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind if his son gets rich. I don't have to measure some kind of worthiness and deservability issue with my dad that I make as much money in a month as most Americans make in 3 years. I don't have to measure that out against anybody. It's okay for me to, because here's the thing. I'm making money based on being of service to people. Write this down. Make your money by being at the service of people. Don't ever make money at the expense of people. You never want to make money at people's expense. You're making money by being of value and service to people. Now, one last little thing, and this is more of a nuts and bolts kind of a thing. If you don't understand free enterprise properly, that can also get in the way of you getting rich. You've got to clear the cobwebs of your mind out a little bit. You've got to understand it's okay for me to want to be rich, number one. Number two was I deserve to be rich. It's your birthright. Everybody deserves to live the best life they possibly can. There's nothing wrong with you declaring I want to be as financially healthy as possible, right? But the last thing I want you to get, and this is tied to the part about value and service, you've got to understand free enterprise. And this is tied into some of the how you make money. For instance, I'll give you an example. Yesterday in my business, I think I made something like $3,600 or something as an affiliate here at Empower Network. And we'll put the little asterisk there, and you can go to empowernetwork.com/income.php and see our income disclaimer. But so yesterday I made $3,600, I think is what it was. That's more than most Americans make working at a job that they hate for a whole month. But the reason I'm okay with that, the reason that I got okay with becoming wealthy is because I realized that I'm not getting paid for my time. I'm getting paid for the value that I give to other people. And I want to illustrate it. With, let me use an example. You can't see this, but this is a Mont Blanc ink pen. I think this pen probably cost a couple $100. It's an ink pen. I mean, like you write with it. You know, you write checks with it. It's $200. I got this pen at Lenox Mall in Atlanta a few years ago, and it was a gift for Jessica. So this pen cost $200. Now, Jessica disagrees with me a little bit. I don't think this pen writes any better than a little $5 pen you go down to Office Depot and buy. I just don't. I'll give you another example. So I've got on my wrist, Jessica got me for Valentine's Day, she got me this Rolex Submariner. It's a blue-faced, gold and stainless steel, and I don't know what she paid for it, but I suspect, if I were going to guess, I would say this watch cost probably, I would say probably at least $9,000. Now, here's the thing. If I want to know what time it is, I'm just as apt to look at my iPhone. And by definition, an iPhone is always going to be a more accurate timepiece than a watch, an automatic movement watch. Even a quartz watch would be more accurate. So why would somebody spend $9,000 for a wristwatch when it doesn't necessarily tell better time than a watch that you spend $40 or $300 for? Why is it that somebody would spend $200 for a Mont Blanc when they can go get, a whatever down at Office Depot for $5? Why does somebody drive a Mercedes instead of a Kia? Why do you wear Nikes instead of Converse? Which, by the way, I'm wearing Converse today. So don't be thrown off by my expensive watch. I'm wearing $20 tennis shoes. And I think this T-shirt, I got this T-shirt at American Eagle, and it was $20, and then it was like 40% off that. So I'm wearing an $8, like a $12 T-shirt, $20 tennis shoes, but I've got a nice watch on today. Okay? So now, why am I explaining this? Because you've got to understand what free enterprise is. This will help you dramatically. And this is my last point tonight about making friends with money. Let's say that let me give you an example. Let's say that you went to Office Depot and you decided, I'm going to get me a Parker pen. It's like a cross pen, it's not a low-end pen, but it's not a Mont Blanc. They make some nice ones. But say you go buy a nice $50 Parker pen. And now pay attention, you spent $50 for it. And then let's say I see you in Denver. We're doing a meeting in Denver. We have an Empower Network event in Denver, Colorado here very soon, and we'd love to have you there. You deserve to be there. Your family deserves for you to be there because we're going to be talking about a lot of this kind of stuff. But let's say that I see you in Denver, and you are pulling out your pen to write something, and I just say, oh, my God, is that a Parker pen? And you say, yeah. And I'm like, I will pay you $500 for that pen right now. Now, I want you to freeze the story right there. You've paid $50 for an ink pen, and then I see you with the pen, and I'm going to offer you $500 for it. Why would I do that? So you ask, well, why would you pay me Why would you pay me $500 for this pen? Well, see, I collect Parker pens. say that's my reply. I don't really, but let's say that's my reply. I collect Parker pens, and that pen went out of production about 2 weeks ago. I can't even find one on eBay, but it's actually the only Parker pen made in 2013 that I don't have, and it would complete my collection. Would you allow me to buy it? I'll give you $500 right now. Now I want you to stop for just a moment. How do you feel? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like you're taking advantage of me if you take my $500? And be honest. It's just me and you here. It's just me and you. Forget that there's anybody else on the line tonight. How do you feel if I say, here, let me give you $500 for the pen? Now, here's what I'm expecting. Some of you would say, hey, look, man, just here, take it. It'd be my gift to you. And there's probably a deservability issue there. Perhaps you call it a gift and it's altruism and you just want to do something nice for your fellow human being. But some people find themselves giving away a lot of stuff or not accepting money for things because they're actually scared of money. They don't know it, but they are. So some people on the line tonight will say, well, I'll just give it to you before I'd take $500. That's something you need to work on. I'm not saying you can't give gifts. You can. I give a lot of gifts. But don't ever give gifts when it's a symptom of poverty consciousness. You need to deal with that, okay? The other thing, some people say, I only paid $50 for it. Here, just give me $50. I'd feel bad if I took $500. Those are just good, average people. And good, average people never get rich. That's why they're called average. By definition, if somebody is average, they're not rich. I'm not saying it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but the average person would probably say, hey, look, I only spent $50 for it. Just give me $50. It's yours. I don't need it. I don't care. And again, nobody's judging you. If that's how you want to live your life, there's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I want to invite you to consider about free enterprise. If you decide to say, I'll take $500 for it, you deserve that. You actually deserve the $450 profit because I want it. And fair is whatever two people agree on. There's a great book on this called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And there's a concept that my friend John Lavinia, who I mentioned earlier, he talks about the law of exchange. I think that's important. I think it's really important that you understand that we're not really moving money and pens back and forth. I'm moving a certain amount of value that I own, and you're giving me a certain amount of value that you own, and we're exchanging. And in that particular case, I place your pen's value at least $500, probably more. I'm getting a bargain, actually, because in a couple of years, the pen's going to be worth about $1,000, and I will have only paid $500 for it. So I value your pen at $500. It doesn't matter what you paid for it. Doesn't matter. Hey, let me ask you this. Here's a simple example. If you're hot and thirsty, like you've been mowing the yard all morning, and one of your little neighbor girl comes walking up and she says, hey, mister, I'm making homemade lemonade here, and I wanted to bring some over, and the lemonade is only $1. Let me tell you something. That glass of lemonade will be well worth $1 when you're hot and thirsty, isn't it? Now, are you going to sit there and whip out the slide rule and figure up how many ounces of lemon juice is in it, and a lemon only costs 39 cents and all this? No, because she's selling you a glass of lemonade that she probably has 10 cents in, but you're happy to give her $1 because you value the lemonade. Same thing when you go buy a fountain drink. It costs. Hey, I'll give you a quick story. I'm over my time, but I'm having fun now. So hang with me. So Halloween night, this would have been 2005. Halloween night, Jessica walks in my office and she says, honey, I think I'm pregnant. Now, I don't care who you are. That gets your attention. And I don't care how interesting whatever it is going on Facebook or Netflix, when your spouse walks in and says, honey, I think I might be pregnant, everything stops, okay? So we find ourselves at 9:30 at night, off into the car. My mom was keeping the kids. We're going to take off, and we are down to the Walgreens to find us a pregnancy test. And if I remember right, we went to Bruno's. I think it was the grocery store first, and their pharmacy was closed. So we had to go over to Walgreens or CVS, and their pharmacy was closed too, but they had the pregnancy test outside the locked-up area. And now don't want to leave these things to chance, don't want to go for the cheap pregnancy test, okay? We're not looking to cut corners on a pregnancy test. We're not worried about a few pennies. Let's get I want the nicest pregnancy test they say. I want the one that has a neon sign that pops out and will tell me yes or no. And I want it to talk to me, and it's got atomic clocks and satellite. I want the nicest pregnancy test that's ever been invented. So I think we wound up paying some ridiculous, it was like $28 or something for just some crazy pregnancy test, right? So, and she's driving, so I'm tearing in. I'm like she's going to take the pregnancy test right there in the car. I'm opening the thing in the car, right? So I've never seen one. I want to see what the thing's like. So I get it out, and here's what hit my head. When I looked at it, I don't know if you've ever seen a pregnancy test or not. So here's what a pregnancy test is. A pregnancy test is like this. It's about 6 or 8 inches long, I guess, and it's injection molded plastic rod. And then it's got a piece of chemical paper inside it, and that's it. And there's packaging, and, of course, one thing and another. But here's the thing. I just started laughing. I said, this is it? This is a pregnancy test? And she said, yeah. And I just started laughing because I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, let's leave out the employees and the marketing campaigns and all the TV ads and all that. But this object costs like pennies. To manufacture, this thing probably cost less than $1. And I just paid $20-something for it at Walgreens. Why? Now let's stop and look at this. Was I buying paper and chemical paper and plastic? No. Don't make that mistake. Let's look at this like free enterprise. People engaged in free enterprise. Look at this. Think like a merchant, not like a consumer. What was I paying for? I was paying for the answer to a very important emotional question. Are we pregnant? Are we going to have another child? That's why I paid $28 for this ridiculous little piece of paper and plastic. That's what free enterprise is. This company earned and deserved every penny. And the drugstore, they earned and deserved their cut of the profit in that transaction because they were all assisting me in getting what I wanted, the answer to my question. Every penny of the $20-something that I paid for that pregnancy test was 100% deserved to the people who received it. And I submit to you, at the risk of sounding arrogant, that I have made over $600,000 this year in Empower Network, and I deserve every single penny of it. Why? Because of the people that I serve. Because of the answers to questions that these products have answered. Because of the changed lives, the moms and dads who are now home with their kids, right? The dads who are not working 2 jobs. The single mom who's able to pay the bills and not have to worry about whether her deadbeat husband is going to pay child support this month. The college kids who's not worried about his student loans piling up. The dad who's not worried that his daughter has to have a cheerleading uniform this fall and his son needs a tuba this fall and he's wondering how he's going to pay for it. I'm talking about the husband, the man and the wife whose daughter is getting married in the next few weeks. And 2 or 3 months ago, they said, honey, we can't take 300 people out to eat to Burger King. How in the world are we going to pay for a wedding? And this is our daughter, our only daughter. She's looked forward to getting married since she was a little girl, dreamed of this day all of her life, and we want it to be a special affair. And right now, I can't figure out how to pay the power bill. How in the world am I going to give our daughter the wedding that she deserves? And because of this business, because of the training, and because of the value and the coaching and the teaching and the products and the community that we offer at Empower Network, I got to be a piece of that story. I get to be the guy who ran the ad that Dad responded to, and now they're making a bunch of money, and they're not worried about how they're going to pay for weddings. That's why I deserve the money that I made on those products that I sold. This is closely tied, guys, to deservability. So I want to take a bird's eye view here, and let's back up, and I want to put a bow on this conversation. It starts with you being self-reliant. It starts with you taking personal responsibility and saying, I'm not going to live as a victim anymore. My life is not happening to me. I'm happening to my life, and I'd better, by God, start making some moves. I'm going to reserve the ability to respond. Don't matter whose fault it is that I'm in this situation. I'm not interested in placing blame. Let me take personal responsibility. I'm going to make some new decisions. I'm going to take some actions that I haven't taken before. That's the first part. The second part is making friends with money. The second part is understanding that you make your money at the service and value of others, not at their expense. It comes from understanding that it's okay. If you were waiting on anybody to give you permission to get rich, please do. Your family deserves it. Your friends deserve it. You deserve it. It has nothing to do with how hard you work. Has nothing to do with how much time you put in. It's okay for you to want to be rich, not just wealthy, not just financially independent, but rich. Rich. Mercedes will sell a car to anybody who wants to buy one. I used to make fun of people that flew first class. You know why? Because I couldn't afford it. That was my mental defense against wealthy people. I'd be the guy sitting at the stoplight, and you look over and you see a Bentley pull up, and the first thing you think, well, that's probably some greedy capitalist pig that took advantage of about 1,000 people so he could buy that car. And I'm sitting there all puffed up and proud of my principles in my Brokemobile. And then I stayed ticked off for like 30 minutes after the guy drove away, glided away in his Bentley, right? He goes gliding away. He's not giving me a thought, and I'm still ticked off 30 minutes later when I walk in my job about all these rich people. All that was me just being childish and immature, just not being a grown-up, trying to blame and find fault instead of taking some personal responsibility. You know, the correct perspective on that, by the way, is to look over and see that car sitting there and say, my goodness, isn't that amazing? Is that not phenomenal that such an object even exists? My goodness, that car has got, the back seat has got, the people that sit in the back seat have footrests, and the seats will recline like an airplane seat. Good gracious, I just can't. Check out the new Mercedes. Isn't that amazing that it has seatbelt sensors in it so that the car knows, so when you get in the car and turn on the air conditioner, it knows which seats are occupied by people, and it goes ahead and starts doing climate control on those seats instead of at empty seats. A car with a brain. Isn't that an amazing, amazing thing? Man, I'll bet the guy who's driving that thing, he's probably affords that thing because he probably owns some big company that makes a bunch of stuff, and he's serving all these wonderful people. Why is Bill Gates so rich? Look at the number of people he serves. He invented software that's sitting on your desk right now, or Steve Jobs, or Apple Computer, or Warren Buffett, or Sir Richard Branson. The reason that you know these names is because they're serving the people. You want to make more money? Be of more service. And the easiest way to be of more service in this niche is to be someone who's offering high-value products that pay 100% commissions. You get to keep the money. They don't make a penny when I make a sale. You don't make any money on what I sell. Laura Parrish will go make another gazillion dollars in the next 30 days, right? And David and David aren't going to make any of that money. The company pays 100% commissions. Why? What if we started a company and we just let the affiliates keep their own money? Wouldn't that be crazy? Everybody said it wouldn't last, and 18 months later we've paid out millions and millions of dollars a month we've paid out. We've got stories like you wouldn't believe, and it all starts with a simple decision to jump in here and get started with our little $25 basic. Get in, get all in, and put the blinders on and actually make friends with money and engage in the kind of free enterprise that will allow you to earn what you finally deserve. Guys, I love this company. Time would fail me to sit and tell you how this company and this opportunity has changed my family's life, has changed the lives of every person that I've shared it with. So it is a wonderful opportunity. We talk a lot about money. Everybody came here for the money, but and I've said this before, and this will be my closing thought. Empower Network, absolutely. We are unapologetic that we are here to talk about making lots of money, getting rich, if you will, and see our income disclaimer. But let me tell you the dirty little secret. Some of you want to know what the catch is about Empower Network. Here's the catch. We'll go ahead and tell you up front. Here's the catch. We are actually a leadership factory disguised as a business opportunity. See, because we know, here's the thing. If we can get you to making about $20,000 a month working part-time on the internet, you're going to discover how powerful you really are. And that will spill over into every area of your life. You will become a better parent. You'll have the opportunity to become a better parent. Let me say it that way. But yeah, when you get the money thing figured out and you realize that you don't have to sell your time to an employer, you don't have to settle for weenie commissions, you don't have to pull your hair out trying to figure out Google and ClickBank. We've got a whole product suite and training and a pay plan that will show you how to get from where you are to where you want to go. But here's the thing. When we get you making about $20,000 a month, you're going to look around, you're going to get up one day and look in the mirror, and you're going to say, wow, there you are. I've been waiting for you to show up. How good to actually see, finally, the powerful version of myself. Isn't that what we all really want? Is to discover that we're really way more capable than we ever even dreamed. That's why movies like Harry Potter, that's why movies like Harry Potter are wildly successful in the box office, because everybody wants that experience of being an average person. In that case, an average kid living under a cupboard, orphaned, who had nothing to look forward to, and then suddenly found out within him, not something that was given to him, but within him, he already had an enormous power, and he didn't even know it. And all he was waiting on was somebody to come by and say, let me hold up a mirror and show you who you really are. And that's all we do. Somebody says, Tony, what do you do for a living? I hold up mirrors. I just hold up mirrors to people. I take a stand for people that you can be more than what you're being. And the reason I can take that stand is because somebody took that stand for me. Somebody said, Tony, you're better than what you're doing. You're bigger than who you're being. You can achieve more than you're achieving. That's the magic. So that's what we get to do. If that sounds good to you, get in. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to see you in Denver. And I know I speak on behalf of David Wood and David Sharp, who are probably in the air coming back over the Pacific Ocean tonight, coming home to the continental United States from a weekend in Hawaii. I speak for everybody in the leadership. I speak for everybody on the elite team here and every single person in the community. We would absolutely love having you on board. It's a party. It's a blast. We have an absolute ball. But I'll tell you what, Jim Rohn once said, don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. This is not an easy crowd. We'll challenge you. We'll ask you to put your big boy pants on and your big girl pants on sometimes. We'll talk straight. We'll be honest. We'll be authentic. We'll expect you to do the same. And we get the opportunity to hold up mirrors in front of each other and say, look at you. Wow, would you have ever thought in just 90 days' time you would turn into this, the most powerful version of yourself you've ever seen? That's the opportunity. That's what Empower Network's about. So, guys, with that, we're going to wrap this call. We've been exactly 90 minutes, well, actually 80 minutes, got started a moment or two late. This call will be available on a replay. If you're not with Empower Network yet, get back in touch with the person who invited you to the call. They will show you exactly how to get started, and you can hit the ground running and earning your first commissions in the next 24 hours. And if you are in Empower Network, I want you right now, if you haven't done it, go buy your ticket to Denver. I want to meet you in Denver. I want to shake your hand. I want to hear your story. And of course, many of you have already purchased your ticket to Denver. I think several thousand tickets have already been sold. Cannot wait to see you guys. So good to see y'all in Chicago. Can't wait to see you in Denver. So with that said, guys, have a fantastic night tonight. You absolutely deserve it, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Although you're listening to a private recording in a non-disclosure Empowered Network customer training, the principles and strategies in this audio can be applied in any business. Although these techniques, philosophies, and strategies may have worked for others, no one can guarantee that they will work for you. We report real average earnings, updated daily, at empowernetwork.com/income.php. The purchase of this or any other audio is not required to earn money in our affiliate compensation plan, and you can decide to not continue to buy these forever. At any time. We hope, however, these ideas and strategies will assist you in building a profitable, long-term business. Success takes hard work, determination, skill, and consistent effort. Please refer to our average earnings at empowernetwork.com/income.php.